again, friends. Welcome back to the channel. This is a video that I've wanted to post for a while. I finally found my missing flash drive. I had a bunch of video on it. This is from when I worked on that black F-150, and I had to fabricate a transmission mount because you can't get them. So use this as a roadmap to modify your own trans mount, because I mean, these bullnose trucks are gaining in popularity, so you're gonna need parts, and sometimes you're gonna have to do what you gotta do. So grab your cup of coffee and a seat, watch this video and enjoy, because I'm Paulie and this is Paulie's Power Hour. So, we're doing something a little unconventional today. There's an F-150 over there, as we call a Bullnose Ford F-150. It's a 1986 model, and it's a customer's truck that I'm working on. And what I'm about to show you is the dumbest thing ever. Ford made a part in the 80s, and then the aftermarket copied it, but they didn't copy it right. And they mass-produced these things not being copied right. And you can Google forums on Broncos and F-150s, and everyone has this exact same problem, and I'm going to show it to you right now. They made a mount with an offset bolt pattern, which is great, except the aftermarket hasn't caught up yet. And this is what you buy when you cross this Ford stock part number to this, and as you can see, it's a little short. These holes line up. These more or less line up. I'm actually going to have to widen this hole. But to make this perfectly line up, yeah, it's going to take some doing. So, what is a guy to do? I'll tell you what. I'm going to take this. This is going to go here. This is going to go here. This is going to go here. And if you look, that is going to make it about where I need it to be. If I go this way. There we go. Much more gooder. So, that's what we're going to do. We are going to make our own mount. So I've got these holes lined up here. These are lined up here, and then obviously these do not line up. So I'm extending this ever so far, and my hole is going to be right somewhere in the middle here, which means I'm really going to have to be good about welding this up. Since this does support a 4x4 transmission with transfer case, I am extending the gussets so it retains the stock rigidity. And as for this piece here, I'm either going to cut this down and weld this on here to make it extension, or I might cut this one out of here, cut this one out, and then weld this one back together in here. I haven't decided yet. So I'm going to put this thing in the vise, and we are going to start welding. Alright, so I got it in the vise. I got a welding magnet set up. This is where I want it to be. I've prepped this metal, I've prepped this metal, and we're going to start tacking. I'm going to start tacking this. I'm going to try not to just like blast weld on here on any of these, because I really don't want to affect the integrity of this rubber, which is what's failing on the other mount. So we're going to be very fastidious, kind of like doing body work almost, where you tack weld in a panel, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make this all one big piece, and then I'll be able to sink a new hole. I'm also going to weld up this hole here, which probably means I'm going to have to get this stupid bar out of here. I'm not sure what it's there for, but Ford does things differently, and I'm sure it's there for a purpose. So, since it's a customer vehicle, I might as well, might as well put it back in there. Yeah, alright, let's get to work. She might not look like much right now, but I'm telling you, this worked out pretty well. I'm gonna get to grinding, get that done, and because I could leave it like this if I really wanted to, drill a new hole in it and put it in there. But folks, that's not what I'm about. Even though you're never gonna see it, it's gonna be under the truck. This thing is gonna be cleaned, painted, and nice. It's never gonna rust. Well, it's gonna rust eventually, but not for many, many years, right? And we're gonna put it back in the truck. I'll tell you what, I think this thing turned out halfway decent. Not too shabby for, you know, cutting pieces of metal out of this plate and measuring. You know, there's where the hole is going to be. Welded up the other hole, and solid. This is the solution. So I'm going to drill this hole, get this thing in paint, and then figure out what, actually, I should probably figure out what I'm going to do with this bar before I put it in paint. I'm going to put the other bar in here and weld it. Yep. That's what's going to happen. Alright, so here we go. Here it is. Holes in it. That matches. I put the bar back in here. And if you look, now they match. Isn't that special? Holes to holes. Everything lines up. So, stupid thing. Clean this up, sand it, and get this thing in some paint because we don't want it to rust underneath this truck. And then we're going to put it in after it's dry. Yay! As you can see, we have painted a great many things on this old rack here. We just have little hangers, and this we paint our little pieces and parts. So what am I using for this? I'm going to use some Krylon Rust Tough Protective Semi-Flat Enamel. This is actually semi-flat black. And this is the same stuff I used on the engine bay of the Malibu. I use this because it's direct to metal, quick dry, self-priming, and it'll last in that environment. Look at the engine bay of the Malibu. I mean, I've driven through rain and all kinds of crap, and it's still perfectly fine. So here we're just gonna go, and we're gonna blast some quick paint on here. All right. I want to make sure this is nice and protected. Alright, there's the first coat. We're going to let that sit up and dry. And actually, this might dry overnight because I want to make sure that this is good and dry and protected when I go to put it on the truck tomorrow. So, I laid it on a little thick right there, but that's okay. It's just going to go into the truck. I want it to be protected. But I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you what. Look at that thing. You can barely even tell that I did anything to it when it's all painted. It almost looks like a bone stock mount. Not too shabby for, you know, just a guy doing it here in the shop. I mean, this isn't a fabrication shop. We do fabricate stuff here because we're pretty good at it. And if this was like a show-winning award, like, you know, award-winning show truck or something like that, then yeah, I'd have been much more particular, if you will. But I wanted to make sure that it was strong, looked good, looked decent. I mean, it's under the truck, whatever. But most importantly, it's going to hold the transmission on the truck that this guy got for his kid as his first truck. So we want to make sure that this is going to last. There's going to be no question in my mind with all those gussets and everything I put on that thing that it is going to be effing mint. So I'm going to let that cure. I'm going to clean up my mess here, all my tools, and put the welder away and clean off my toolbox, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we're back working on the F-150. The completed mount is here, and we're going to go ahead and put this thing in. As you can see, the bolts are indeed offset, so I want my offset to go this way, and just like that. Awesome. This is going to work out pretty darn well, I think. And there you have it, folks. Installed and ready to go. And the inside of the truck still looks pretty clean, I think. All things considered. I did do shocks, bushings, shocks, new lowering springs up here. We're going to talk about this truck here in a little bit. But yeah, the important thing is now when I push up on this, the trans don't go anywhere. Before this was flat. This was like down here with that old mount. Not good. Estas no bueno, as the French would say. So this is gonna hold the trans in place. Oh yeah, much more gooder. Much more gooder. I'm gonna get my tools out of here.